Y'all know my name, bitch. Y'all think I'm famous. Yo, this ridiculous, meticulous. Yeah, I'm ready, 10 deep, we dangerous. Yo,
The Pulsar 220. It's an absolutely legendary bike in the Indian context. And despite its age, it's the highest selling 200 plus cc Pulsar. That's surprising, right? But did you know that the 220 was actually fuel injected in its very first version, which was launched more than a decade ago? That's surprising, right? But due to the fact that the Indian market was a bit immature for low displacement fuel injected bikes and also comparatively higher costs compared to the competition of the 220, Bajaj had to cut the costs down. And they did that by axing the fuel injection system in favor of a cheaper carbureted system. Which meant that since all those years, the 220 was carbureted, but not anymore. So, hey guys, what's up? I'm Sriniket. You're watching my YouTube channel Sri Productions, and today let's check out the BS6 fuel injected Pulsar 220. Let's get started. Design of the 220 is more than iconic. Believe me or not, it's nearly 14 years old now and has seen just color and decal changes over the years. It gets the same vertical halogen and projector setup, the same bikini fairing and the iconic tail lamp setup. It has started looking too familiar nowadays, but Bajaj knows tampering with the design of this icon could result in a big squid outrage. Talking about the changes, it gets the obvious BS6 upgrades like a fuel injection system, an additional catalytic converter below the engine, and a slight reduction in the power output. The power has reduced by 0.6 PS, so now it stands at 20.4 PS, and the torque output has been reduced by 0.6 Newton meters. So it now produces 18.5 Newton meters of peak torque. It gets the same analog digital instrument cluster with adequate information, but still misses out on a gear position indicator. Seat height stands at 795mm. It's fairly comfortable and riders of short height won't have much problem. The pillion seat as well is quite long and comfortable and isn't too high as an R15. So long rides with two on board won't be an issue. So the question is, has the addition of this new fuel injection system and very slight reduction in power output changed the feel of this bike? There's only one way to find out.
Alright, riding the BS6 220 Fi. One thing to note is that it does have side stand engine cutoff. Let's go.
Riding the 220, let's be clear, it has started to show its age. Now fanboys might say otherwise and get offended, but in 2020, its competition does feel much more modern and better than the 220. Don't get me wrong though, the engine on the 220 still has decent amount of performance and can perform really well. It has a decent amount of bottom end torque and does not need much throttle input in start-stop traffic. The throttle response is decent, but the engine doesn't rev up as quickly as an NS. The power delivery is very linear throughout the rev range with a noticeable mid-range punch. The refinement has definitely improved over the BS4 version. But rev it past 8000 RPM and vibrations are felt on the seat, foot pegs and the handlebar. Gearbox has been improved a lot over its predecessor as it has slick and precise shifts. Clutch has a decent weight to it and won't get tiresome in heavy traffic. The 220 is very agile and flickable in the city as well as in the corners despite having one of the longest wheelbase in its segment. It remains rock solid on the highways at decent speeds. Mind you, the 220 can cruise really well at 90 to 100 km an hour on the highway and is still being used as a budget tourer by many. The suspension is on the softer side but does not feel too bouncy. That's the reason why the 220 can be used in slight off-road conditions as well. The brakes offer decent feel and feedback, although as the suspension is on the softer side, a slight amount of nose dive is present while braking. The seating position is relaxed with a slight front lean. The handlebar is set low and is close to the rider. Seat is quite comfortable and the foot pegs as well and to rear set. In all, the 220 in itself is a decent package as it offers good amount of practicality, comfort and of course performance despite its age. But the lack of any major changes and the fact that the competition being stronger than ever, it does need a major overhaul as soon as possible. So is it still worth buying over its similar priced 200cc competitors? Well, comparing it to the Apache 200, the Apache definitely feels like a more modern, a more matured product. So if you want a bit more features and a slightly better build quality, go for the Apache 200. but you still want that legendary, that iconic brand name of the 220, the 220 is definitely the one to go for, because the amount of refinement improvements and the improvements to the gearbox that Bajaj has been able to achieve in the BS6 update is simply commendable. Also, comparing it to its own sibling, the 200 NS, well, let me tell you, I'm making a dedicated comparison video between the Pulsar 220 and the Pulsar NS200, both BS6 of course. So if you want to watch that video, definitely hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right away. And also let me know if you want a dedicated comparison video between the Pulsar 220 and the Apache 200 4V. Till then, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.